Now, Wave News at 6.
We came up with a brand new concept, a brand new vehicle, and a better way of making a car after 122 years.
Ford's Louisville assembly plant is now set for a $2 billion renovation. This is Wave News at 6. I'm Myra Ansari.
And I'm Brian Schlonsky. When it's done, workers will be mass producing a new, more affordable electric truck.
Wave News reporter David Mattingly has more on what the future holds for the Louisville assembly plant.
Ford CEO Jim Farley is back in Louisville talking about what he describes as a new Henry Ford moment. Electric vehicles, EVs, will soon be rolling out of the LAP, Louisville Assembly Plant. They will be made more economically, abandoning the traditional assembly line to deliver a vehicle that's more affordable for customers. Farley calls it the company's most radical change since the Model T.
We will spend $2 billion here in Louisville modernizing this plant. And that's 2,200 hourly workers that have a future for decades to come.
LAP will shut down for 8 to 10 months, possibly beginning in December, as the plant is retooled. Union leaders say initially the number of jobs at LAP could drop by 1,000. But no one will be unemployed, as transfers to other jobs within Ford would be available. As for the vehicle itself, there are no public pictures to see. It's described as a mid-sized truck with more interior room than a Toyota RAV4 and capable of accelerating like a Mustang. The announcement comes less than 2 weeks after Ford announced a $36 million loss in the second quarter of the year, even though sales were up 5%. Tariffs were a big reason for that. The company predicts tariffs will cost it a total of $2 billion this year. But this day was all about planning for the future for Ford and for future Ford jobs, as well as future vehicles and sales. David Mattingly, Wave News.
All right, so we are taking a live look outside right now. It's been another blistering start to the work week.
Well, how's your air conditioning holding up? Mine is like on overdrive.
I don't know. That makes me nervous. I think it works. I think it's working okay. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, all cool
I need
in
to
my
go
place.
check. Yeah,
Right?
Last thing I need to be jinxed into a broken AC.
Yeah, you don't need that, especially with what's coming. We know the state fair's rolling up on us soon this week, and that means even hotter temperatures. You'll see that in the 10-day coming up. Meanwhile, outside today, we're still in the 90s, currently 90. We're down a degree or two from the last hour, but we're still running on the warm side across the entire viewing area. Most places are right at 90 degrees. Most of us with a decent amount of sunshine today. There have been a few more clouds off to our east and a few downpours in the far eastern part of the viewing area. You'll notice for us, the bulk of those are now over toward Lexington, now approaching Cynthiana, and away from the 34 counties that we serve. So our rain chance is very limited through the evening hours. It's mainly a clear evening and a start to the day tomorrow with some sunshine will quickly warm us back up. We'll start with temperatures in the 70s tomorrow, going back into that 90-degree category. We'll talk about the 10-day earliest alert. Scattered storms in the near term, a lot of heat coming up in the latter part of that. I'll have it for you in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Well, it took 3 tries, but a violent suspected bank robber and kidnapping suspect was finally hauled to court before a judge today. Police say Armand Langford kidnapped a mother and 2 children, then robbed a bank in St. Matthews on Friday.
Once we started digging into the suspect's past, we knew he had an extensive criminal history. Today, I talked with the lead robbery detective on this case, who says since being arrested, Langford has admitted to more violent robberies.
Friday, one of our worst fears playing out over a morning and afternoon in St. Matthews. It would start as a home invasion. A man enters a house on Whips Mill Road through the attached garage armed with a knife. He forces a mother and her 2 small children into their car, sits behind the mother as she drives, the knife to her throat. He demands they drive through the PNC Bank, stabs the woman, and robs the bank.
Unfortunately, it does appear that it was random. They did not know each other.
Ashley Schaefer is the lead detective on this case. She works in LMPD's robbery unit.
I've never worked anything like this in my entire time with the robbery unit.
She says this crime, the chaos, the violence, is obscene and it's rare.
It's normal to have a bank robbery. It's normal to have a business robbery. It's not normal to have all these other factors. So I think that is the difficult difficult part.
And more factors would come to light on Monday as Schaefer released new details about the suspect's crime spree. His name is Armand Langford. Linden police got a tip Friday from someone who spotted him. An officer chased him. St. Matthews police got involved. Langford is hauled off to jail. While in custody, LMPD says he admits to more violent crimes. Court papers say he held up a Dixie Highway Walgreens at gunpoint in 2018. Did the same minutes later at a Circle K. 2 years later, in 2020, he robbed someone at a McDonald's on Broadway at gunpoint and pistol whipped a bystander in the head. That's on top of a robbery spree in 2021 that landed him in prison. Monday, after refusing to leave his cell twice, Langford is finally arraigned, flanked by 4 LMDC guards.
So, Mr. Langford, today is your arraignment.
Schaefer says his latest victim is traumatized, but recovering from her stab wounds. And while this mother may second-guess herself for complying with Langford's demands, realistically, police say she did exactly what they would normally suggest.
There was nothing she could have done different to change the outcome of this.
LMDC also says that the PNC Bank staff, they were precise, they were professional during the robbery and helped the situation from escalating. Langford pleaded not guilty today and is being held on a $1 million bond.
And Langford was convicted of robbing 19 people over a 4-month crime spree in 2021. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison, but his lawyer convinced a judge to let him out on probation instead. Wave News reporter Mark Stevens talked exclusively with one of Langford's prior robbery victims. And Mark, she was horrified to learn that Langford was in trouble again.
Yeah, Dolores Ezel was at the hearing where she listened to Langford's family plead with the judge to put him on probation. She says he should have never been out.
It's been nearly 4 years since Dolores Ezel has come to this ATM.
I don't come to this one. Matter of fact, I go to the bank. I go in.
She stopped around 3:30 in broad daylight to get some cash. That's when Armand Langford came from behind her car to grab her bank card.
And he grabbed my arm, and he was grabbing it.
He pulled her arm back through the window. She fought back.
I bit down on his arm, so I was able to get the card, but he reached in and got the
$100 bill or something that was coming out of the machine.
The money.
And he ran. She watched where he went and gunned it.
And so I took my car, zoomed on in, and I knocked him straight up back by the fence back there. It's a fence back there. It's a church lot. And I hit him. And my intention was to back up and run back over him again.
She hadn't thought about the robbery since listening to Langford's family plead for mercy from the judge last July.
She was talking about what a good child her son was and how he promised he was going to do so much for her. But they wanted him out on probation, so that's what they got.
Langford's lawyer asked for probation, arguing his client suffered from paranoia and personality disorders. The lawyer said Langford had sobered up and was doing well in his halfway house. The judge agreed to release him on probation, ordering him to follow a dozen rules. Ezel says he should have never been out.
She was talking about what a good child her son was and how he promised he was going to do so much for her. But they wanted him out on probation, so that's what they got.
She'll go back to court when the judge hears whether to revoke Langford's probation.
Now, Circuit Court Judge Jessica Green issued an arrest warrant for Langford, setting a $300,000 bond. She set a hearing to discuss revoking his probation September 15th. Mark Stevens, Wave News.
That story not going away anytime soon. All right, thank you, Mark. So this afternoon, a southern Indiana man accused of murdering his wife and then staging the scene to make it look like suicide made his first court appearance. Stephen Gower is charged with murder. Earlier this month, Charlestown police responded to a call that Gower placed where he told dispatchers that his wife, Christina, had committed suicide. Police say when they arrived, Gower told officers to take him to jail. An autopsy also revealed that the gunshot that took Christina's life was fired from more than 3 feet away. That means she couldn't have taken her own life. Gower pled not guilty in court today. He's being held in the Clark County Jail on no bond. He's due back in court on September 16th.
Still to come here on Wave News at 6, Congressman Morgan McGarvey stops by a local company that's 100% employee-owned to gather their thoughts on how he can help them in Congress. We're going to have his thoughts coming up a little later on Wave News at 6.
Plus, some more cuts to the federal budget have schools growing concerned about the resources they may not be able to provide anymore. Up next, we'll explain how those cuts could affect JCPS.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Now, Wave News.
The JCPS is allocating $3.8 million of its upcoming school budget to address the needs of multilingual students in the district.
And this comes as JCPS is having to make choices on where to invest and where to cut within the budget. Wave News reporter Fernando Garcia-Franceschini joins us live to share what that money will go towards and the need for the resources.
Yeah, Myra, well, JCPS at the end of the last school year, 2024-2025, reported having about 21,000 multilingual students within the district. And just to give you a perspective of how big of a number that is, they say if those students were a separate district of their own, they'd be the third largest school district in Kentucky. So that's why many leaders within the district say JCPS needs to keep multilingual learners top of mind when making decisions about the budget.
They're using language and listening skills.
These are just two of the English language development teachers Jacob Elementary School has hired through funding allocated from JCPS's annual budget.
I have 4 full-time ELD teachers on staff that push into the classrooms to provide scaffolds and supports.
Principal Karen Wagner says the school only had about 5 multilingual learners 7 years ago. Today, they make up about 40% of the school population.
The resources are getting thinner and thinner with cuts to budgets throughout not only our community, but communities throughout the state and the country.
JCPS will cut close to $100 million of its budget for this year, with another $50 million cut looming. But the district is still allocating $3.8 million to support multilingual learners.
What that money has been allocated for is to give some autonomy to the schools to recognize what are their needs.
Jill Hanley with JCPS says that could mean additional staff, professional development, or technology devices for language support. Despite all of the upcoming budget cuts, Hanley says it's crucial they keep meeting the needs of these students.
When you're thinking about the dual role that our multilingual learners are expected to take on, then of course additional resources and supports are necessary.
Again, district leaders say they must reduce the JCPS budget by another $50 million for the 2026-2027 school year. And while they say it's going to be a challenge to keep meeting the needs of the growing multilingual community within the district, they say they are committed to doing so. Reporting live, Fernando Garcia-Franceschini, Wave News.
All right, thank you, Fernando. Schoolwork for students at JCTC and Simmons College is now a little easier thanks to a donation of laptops from AT&T and Human IT. 75 students who are part of the Evolve 502 scholarship program received the laptops. Evolve 502 leaders say that the donations will remove barriers and help provide a higher quality of living for those who may not be able to do schoolwork at home because they don't have a home computer.
Evolve 502 is all about removing barriers to education. And it's much more than just providing the tuition support, which we do provide, and that is what keeps most young people from pursuing a post-secondary education. But it's also those other costs associated with going to college, buying your books, housing, those kinds of things. And so this technology investment is just huge for our young people.
And today's donation was made possible through AT&T's initiative to help address the digital divide through internet accessibility and affordability.
Coming up next at 6, we're just 1 minute away. We're going to dive right into tomorrow's forecast. Scattered storm chances going up a bit for our Tuesday. We'll start with that and finish with the heat for the State Fair when we come back in a half a minute.